What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackowitz. This is the Kaged review, and this is a review for Hellboy. I saw it last night, opening Thursday, and I gotta tell you, I've seen a couple of reviews so far, and I've heard the news like online that just like everybody hated it, and it seems like there's been this mass gathering of like people hating on Hellboy. So let me start out by saying I make notes when I watch the movies, a lot of times. And I kind of make mental notes of what I want to talk about sometimes. So all of this is legitimately what I thought of initially watching the movie before I heard anybody say anything. Hellboy starts out with this opening monologue, somebody talking over some scenes, and the voice acting immediately was really, really bad. Really bad. And literally within the first 5 minutes of this movie, the guys next to me were like, I want my money back. That'll tell you where this movie's going. I had a lot of issues with this movie. To name a few, the writing was terrible. Not only were the lines just horribly written, but there was no cohesive plot to this whatsoever. It jumped from point to point to point with nothing in the middle. That was a big issue I had with this movie. The line delivery from a lot of the actors in this movie, like the delivery itself, was just horrible. And from a couple actors that I wouldn't expect it to be as bad as it is, it was more than cringeworthy. Like most of the movie's dialogue was cringeworthy. There were parts where it was just god-awful. There was a lot of exposition in this movie, and this is the one thing that I did hear other people saying in a couple of the reviews that I saw, and I was like, you know what? There was a lot of exposition, and there really was. There was a lot of explaining to the nth degree about everything, every origin, every place. It was overdone, like they were talking to, people with mental handicaps. I mean, that's literally what it come down to. Everything about this was just horrible, except two things, and that were the two main leads. David Harbour, I was really hoping that this would be a good movie, if nothing else than for David Harbour and his career. It was probably the only saving grace for this movie. Hellboy himself, David Harbour, and his performance, he had some good punchlines. Even though everything was terribly written, he delivered as good as he possibly could. And I would really like to see him get into something else, because this was not the movie for him to really start a movie career with. Not that I think this was his first movie or anything, but it was just a bad movie to try to kickstart something after Stranger Things and all that popularity. He was good. He was the only saving grace. And the other part was Mila Jovovich, who I absolutely love. And I got introduced to her, just pretty much like a lot of people, Fifth Element, Lidu. And young, adorable, just got this great personality. I never thought she was going to win an Oscar, but she was good, especially when it was like action hero type movies. She does very well with those. So they both tried, but other than that, I mean, the animations were really cheesy. The story was disjointed. Dialogue was horrible. There's two sidekicks that are working with Hellboy, and the girl who plays Alice, like her delivery at times was cringeworthy. And Thomas Hayden Church, he was another one that was like, his line delivery was horrible. Like his introduction, everybody in the theater is looking at each other like, is this fucking for real? It was like that. Everybody's looking around and like laughing out loud at points when you're just not supposed to be laughing. And, Grace was talking about how she thought it was rude that people were laughing. Whatever, man. When a movie is this bad, it deserves it. they went hard R on this for a lot of language and a lot of violence. Unfortunately, the CGI didn't always look very good, and so that kind of took you out of the movie a little bit. And again, I'm trying to figure out where the budget to this movie went because it did not go to script, writing, special effects. I just don't know. I don't get it. So at the end of the day, I was incredibly, incredibly disappointed. I really wanted this to be a good one. And, so far I've been very lucky this year. I had a lot of movies, big blockbusters that I expected to be blockbusters that I really wanted to go see, check out, hope they were good. Shazam, stuff like that. And so far I've been all very pleasantly surprised until now. The next big movie we got is Avengers Endgame, so I guess this is the fucking calm before the storm because this was a bunch of hot garbage. I was just really disappointed in this movie all the way around. The villains are just incredibly cheesy at times, not important to anything. Their reasonings, honestly, are jumbled, don't make a lot of sense sometimes. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything that's really a saving grace to this movie. The hard R did no favors for this movie. It just gave them an excuse to get very gory at times. And they went very Silent Hill for a little bit toward the end of the movie. I'll talk about that in the spoilers, but it was good as far as the gore aspect of it, but it did no favors to the plot. It carried nothing forward. It really had no stakes. So it was just gore for the sake of gore. It was adding horror to an R-rated movie, and that's all it was. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to have to give this a 3 out of 10. I think it was a very below average movie. I really do. I don't think they tried very hard at all. And I'll get into more specifics when I get into spoilers about certain actors and their delivery of lines and just things that were god awful. So that's where I'm at for right now. 3 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Save the spoilers for the spoiler review. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation, out.